My name is Mitch Mackey. I'm an amateur webcomic creator, currently working on a webcomic series called 100 Years Later, now on Webtoon Canvas. In the background, I'm drawing something. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. Whatever. I just happen to be drawing at the moment. Haven't uploaded a video in a while. I'm going to kind of talk about why that is in this video. Just kind of talk about something kind of personal that's been going on with me. And that might be happening to a lot of other creators. It might be something very relatable. It might just be something that not a lot of people run into, but hopefully it's something that can help people out. I'm kind of making this video for myself. A lot of these videos I make are kind of selfish videos to kind of just have so I can watch and kind of pump myself up or reaffirm myself of something. But what it is, I've kind of named it. I didn't really have a name for it before, but I call it creative analysis paralysis, and that's kind of just a thing about my whole personality, I guess. I kind of tend to overthink things, and it's not really. And by overthinking it, you don't really decide, I guess. That's kind of carried over to my creative output, I guess you could say. So being a very creative person, I would say I'm very creative. I think a lot, and I can just think of any random thing. You know what I mean? If you just happen to see like a dog meow or something, you think of like a whole different. You think of like a backstory. It's like a cat that transferred into a dog or whatever. It's a weird example. I just thought of it off the top of my head, but you get the idea. If you're really creative like that, you just think of random shit like that, and it's awesome, and I love it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. But there's a downfall to that you think of this really cool idea. You think of this really cool comic idea 100 years later. And then you think, a week later, you go, oh, that's not that good of an idea. There's a way better idea. It's very hard to stick to one thing and finish it, I guess. At least for me. Other people are very, I'm going to see this through to the end, and that's going to be it. And some people have the one idea, that's the idea. And I thought I had that. It's not 100 years later. It's another comic I plan on doing. But I don't think I'm good enough to tell that story yet. So I'm trying to do 100 years later as a practice comic so I can become good enough to tell that one story. But even that one story, I have doubts, and I have other ideas I think of that, oh, that's a better story. I should do that instead. And that's going to keep happening. And it's not just about comics. If you have done anything else creatively, there's a lot of creative outputs you can do. You can write. There's a lot of things you can just write. You can not only write comics, write books, screenplays, you name it. Another one is video game development. That's actually one of the first creative outlets I used. That's what I learned. And I've actually done that way more than I've ever made comics. I've made video games, and I've been learning how to make video games for about 8 years now, and I've kind of narrowed it down to making video games and comic creation. That's my two kind of main outlets. I've tried writing books, that never really worked for me. Wasn't really as connected, I guess. I didn't really like what it was going. I've tried writing screenplays, other stuff like that. YouTube is also another creative outlet. And I like that. That's why I upload a YouTube video. You're watching me on YouTube right now. But for me, video games and comics have always just been like the top tier of content creation. I hate saying content, but yeah, it is, I guess, what you would call it. So I've been kind of flip-flopping for the past 8 years on just kind of learning how to make those. and it's been a struggle, I guess. It's not like I just have the one idea and then I just do it and that's it, and then I go to the next project. I don't do that. I overthink it. I think about other ideas and I go, oh, I'm gonna do that. Once it becomes hard to do one thing, once I can't finish a project. So how do you fight that? Why am I back making a video about how I'm gonna keep working on the comic? How do I get to this point? And what do I have to tell myself to kind of keep working on this project so I can eventually work on my main project, the one I really want to work on? And how do I tell myself, yeah, sure, you can make a video game. And I'm not taking it off the table. I really love playing indie games. I love making games. Honestly, probably more than making webcomics sometimes. But just not right now. I want to finish this comic, and we'll see where we go from there. But I need to finish it. And how do I tell myself I need to finish it? And so I guess this is kind of like where you could take advice from this. Hopefully this will help anyone watching this who's also had similar issues in the past. And I feel like a lot of people have, because, it's very hard to create things. And if you are a creative person, you think of different ideas all the time. So I don't, it's kind of crazy that people can even create things. They're people of a different breed, I guess, to be able to write and finish stuff. I mean, I'm sure they have their issues. I'm sure they have their struggles. They do it and they finish it, and we should learn from them. So how I got back? I actually, for the last month, I stopped making the comic and I said I'm gonna make video games now. So how did I come back to making comics? What did I tell myself to come back to make comics so I can finish 100 years later? I mean, I barely started. I need to see this through. I have so many unfinished projects, and I mean, I have another unfinished product I just created with making that game. I didn't get too far before I said, no, we got to finish the other project first. But what did I tell myself? One other thing that kind of drives me to make creative stuff creatively is monetary reasons. Honestly, it's hard to be able to do something you like doing as a profession, to be able to make enough money to live off it. And that's always kind of been a goal of mine. And honestly, making video games is definitely, you're more likely to make a decent living off that than you ever would as a webcomic creator, especially with my art level. I'm a much better programmer and game designer, I think, than a artist and a writer. So that's always kind of been like something in the back of my head that says, hey, you need to make a video game if you ever want to make a living off this. The thing with that is the chances you make, it seems so easy to make a living off something creatively. Because, you see everyone, you see a whole bunch of people on YouTube, you see all these, people tweet out, and talk about how great their life is, making this awesome, making, their dream comic, their dream video game, their dream book, whatever. And they make enough money to live off it, and they're living the great old life. And you think, yeah, that could be me. And it could be. And I hope it is me one day. But the chances of that happening are very slim. It's I was going to say unoptimistic. It's pessimistic line of thinking, but it's very realistic. You have to understand for every one person who is succeeded in making their dream comic, their dream book, there's probably about 1,000, 10,000 people who have failed to do that. If that makes sense, and the chances you are that 1,000 to 10,000, it's good to think optimistically and say, yeah, I'm going to be that one person, but there still has to be those other people And statistically, you're probably going to be one of those other people. And that sounds very negative. That sounds very sad. I know people don't want to hear that. But like you just need to be realistic. You need to understand that you're probably not going to make any money off making stuff creatively, I guess. It's a very large market, and it takes a while to grow that skill. And you're not going to be. You might be a genius and be able to just make something, and it blows up, and you're just able to do it as your profession. And but realistically, that's not going to happen. It's going to take a while. You can eventually become a professional at this if you work hard at it and just keep doing it. It's just a lot of people can't even do that. I struggle with doing that. So I'm kind of beating around the bush. How do I keep doing that? How do I tell myself to do it? I have to get in the mindset of, I'm not going to try to do this to make this my career. It would be great. I would love it. And I want to do that. That's not what has to motivate me. I have to really love it. I really want to get it out in the world. And I've heard this advice before, is like, you really just need to love to do it. And I think I never really truly understood that phrase. I think I sort of understood it. But now I feel like I truly understand. I feel like, or at least have a better understanding, is you truly have to love something to be able to keep working on it. And, I don't know if I can say I truly love making comics. It's very hard. And I don't know if I necessarily love doing it, when you have a scheduled, release for, the next chapter coming out in like a day, and you're like very behind and you just don't want to draw, but you have to draw. It's an awful feeling sometimes. And then you post it and you'll get like 2 people read it. It's just very disheartening, and I don't know how people can even do it. So yeah, you do truly have to love it to continue making it. And that's what people always say. I don't know if I love making comics. But what I do know is you need to kind of find a story. Find something in your head that you just need to get out in the world and finish. It doesn't matter who reads it. If one person reads it, great. If 1 million people read it, even better. But realistically, if no one reads this story, is that okay for you? And the answer is yeah. There's a story in my head I want to tell. It's a comic called Helios. And I plan to tell this story after I finish 100 Years Later. And it's this story that I've thought of probably about, I think it was around the time Samurai 8 was out. It's a sci-fi story, so I was thinking of sci-fi stuff. I can't remember when that was. I think it was about 2 years ago. But this story has just kind of been growing and festering in my head for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people, who are creative have stories like that. And even if they do think of new ideas, maybe even better, there always is this one story you just want to tell, right? And it's the story that I want to tell, even if I have to, keep working my day job, obviously, so I can support myself financially. It's the one story I want to tell, even if no one reads. It's a story for myself. You have to be self-indulgent, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You have to be very selfish. Not really. I wouldn't call it selfish, because it's very hard work for very little reward, other than like emotional reward, your own emotional gratification. And I mean, that's still hard, but that's how I'm going to justify, keep doing this, and how I'm going to finish projects to be able to do it. Right now, I don't think I'm a good enough artist or a writer to make it look as good, even as 50% as good as it is in my head. So I'm writing 100 Years Later to get the skills necessary to tell that story. And there's times where I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to write it right now. Forget 100 Years Later. I'm just going to write Helios It's my dream comic. I wanted to get it out there. And yeah, you could say that, but it's like I need to finish 100 Years Later. I started this, and I need to gain the skills, I guess, to be able to make the comic I want to make. It's a very frantic video. Hopefully it's a bit different from my other videos where I'm very, I guess, clear. I'm in a weird mind state right now, I guess. But I mean, if anyone can get any knowledge or, you know, motivation or, you know, any ideas of their own on how they're going to complete, you know, their creative, you know, vision in whatever medium, you know, it doesn't have to be exclusionary. Is that a word? Exclusionary? Exclusive. I guess it's just exclusive to comics, you know, any medium really. Please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear other people's opinions and own thoughts about this. That's been one of the greatest things about making this channel is connecting to other creative people and kind of talking about their experiences they have. So thank you for watching this video. Again, please comment down below on any of your thoughts, feelings, anything you might be going through. I might be able to help out. And just kind of, yeah, this has been a weird video. it's a little all over the place, and I don't really know what to call it, what to title it. You know, I don't expect this to. It's not my typical clickbaity, you know, Webtoon, you know, hashtags everywhere, you know, to try to get the views and the clicks. You know, this is just kind of a video I want to put up for myself and maybe for the few other people who watch it, and hopefully it'll help you in your journey as a creator. And hopefully it didn't sound too pessimistic. It definitely is, you know. Saying you're not very special is, you know, definitely something you don't want to hear. But, you know, it's definitely something you need to realize and you need to kind of work through, because, you know, all of us, you know, we all are, you know, 1 in a billion. You know, we all are our own special individual people, and that's what you need to focus on. And everyone has their own story to tell. Someone, Strawberry always said that in an interview, and that's a really good kind of quote. You know, everyone does have their own story to tell, and I'm excited to read everyone's stories, and hopefully you'll read mine. But yeah, again, that's the end of the video, I guess. Thanks for watching.